A plant that once healed the soul now destroys the body. This is the story of the greatest betrayal between humans and nature. Somewhere, right now, a person is standing outside an office building. It's cold. They're tired. And they're lighting a cigarette, not because they enjoy it, not because it gives them anything real anymore, but because something inside them is empty. And this is the only ritual they have left. They inhale, and for 3 seconds, 3 small seconds, the noise inside their head goes quiet. But here's what they don't know. What almost nobody knows. That plant between their fingers? It was never meant for this. For thousands of years, that same plant was considered one of the most sacred organisms on Earth. Indigenous peoples across the Americas didn't smoke it to escape life. They smoked it to enter life more deeply, to pray, to heal, to listen to something most of us have forgotten how to hear. So what happened? How did a plant of ceremony become a product of destruction? How did sacred smoke become 6 million deaths a year? The answer isn't just about tobacco. It's about what happens when we rip any living thing, including ourselves, out of the context where it belongs. Let's go back. Long before corporations, before advertising, before the word addiction even existed, the tobacco plant, Nicotiana, grew wild across the Americas. And the people who lived alongside it for millennia understood something profound. This plant was powerful, not in the way we think of power today, not as a product, not as a commodity, but as a teacher. Among the Lakota, tobacco was called chanshasha. Among the Maya, it was a bridge between the physical world and the spiritual one. The Ojibwe carried it in small pouches, close to their hearts. They offered it to the earth before a harvest. They placed it in the hands of elders during council. They burned it slowly, intentionally, and watched the smoke rise as a prayer made visible. And here is what matters most. They didn't use it casually. There were rules. There was preparation. There was meaning. You didn't smoke alone on a street corner because you were stressed about a deadline. You smoked in community, in silence, in reverence. The act itself was a form of meditation, a psychological anchor that connected the individual to something greater than themselves. Modern psychology actually has a name for this. It's called ritual behavior. Structured, symbolic actions that regulate emotion, create meaning, and reinforce identity. Rituals reduce anxiety. They create a sense of control. They remind us who we are and where we belong. The tobacco ceremony wasn't just spiritual tradition. It was, without anyone using the term, a sophisticated psychological technology. The plant was the vehicle, but the healing came from the context, the intention, the community, the stillness. Remove those things and you don't have medicine anymore. You have poison. And that is exactly what happened. The story of tobacco's transformation is not just a story about a plant. It is a mirror. It reflects everything that went wrong in the modern world's relationship with nature and with itself. When European colonizers first encountered tobacco in the 15th and 16th centuries, they saw the indigenous peoples using it. They saw the calm it produced, the focus, the social bonding, and they wanted that. Of course they did, but they didn't want the ceremony. They didn't want the prayer. They didn't want the waiting, the preparation, the community, the silence. They wanted the effect without the effort, the result without the relationship. So they took the plant, and they left everything else behind. This is a pattern that repeats throughout human history. We find something whole, something alive and embedded in a web of meaning, and we extract from it only the part we think we can use. We take the molecule and discard the wisdom. We take the resource and ignore the ecosystem. We did it with tobacco. We did it with coca leaves, turning a mild, ancient Andean tea into cocaine. We did it with opium poppies, transforming a carefully used plant into heroin and then into a pharmaceutical crisis that has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. We even do it with food, taking whole grains and stripping them into white flour, removing the fiber, the nutrients, the life, leaving behind something that barely qualifies as nourishment. The pattern is always the same: isolation, concentration, mass production, separation from context. And each time, the result is the same. What was once healing becomes harmful. With tobacco, the transformation was staggering. By the early 1900s, machines could produce millions of cigarettes per day. The ceremonial pipe, handmade, slow, shared, was replaced by a factory product wrapped in paper and chemicals. Over 600 additives were eventually introduced. Ammonia to increase nicotine absorption, sugar to make the smoke smoother, formaldehyde, arsenic, substances that were never part of the plant's original story. The ritual of minutes became the addiction of hours. 20, 30, 40 cigarettes a day, not in circles of prayer, but alone, outside doorways in parking lots, hunched against the rain. And here's what breaks my heart. The people who smoke today, billions of them around the world, they are not weak. They are not stupid. They're doing exactly what humans have always done. They're searching for what the original ceremony provided, a moment of stillness, a pause in the chaos, a breath that feels like it means something. They're reaching for the ritual, but the ritual is gone, and in its place, there's only the chemical. Psychologically, this is devastating. Dr. Gabor Mate, one of the world's leading experts on addiction, says something that should stop all of us in our tracks. He says, the question is not why the addiction. The question is why the pain. People don't get addicted to tobacco because nicotine is irresistible. They get addicted because they're lonely, because they're overwhelmed, because modern life has stripped away almost every meaningful ritual we once had. The fires, the circles, the silences, the prayers, and replaced them with nothing. With screens, with noise, with the relentless demand to produce, perform, and pretend that everything is fine. The cigarette steps into that void. It says, here, take a break. Step outside. Breathe. Feel something, even if it's just smoke in your lungs. You deserve these 3 minutes. And it's lying, but it's the only thing still offering. So what do we do with this? Is this just another story about how the modern world ruins everything? Another reason to feel helpless? No, because understanding what went wrong is the first step toward building something right. The lesson of the tobacco plant is not that nature is dangerous. It's that separation from nature is dangerous. The plant didn't change. We changed. We removed it from its home, from the soil, the ceremony, the intention, and we wondered why it turned against us. But we can learn from this. Deeply, think about your own life for a moment. How many things do you consume? Substances, content, food, relationships, without ritual, without intention, without pausing to ask, why am I reaching for this right now? What am I actually hungry for? Because here is the truth that indigenous peoples understood and that modern psychology is only now beginning to rediscover. The way you do something matters as much as what you do. A cup of tea, made slowly and sipped in silence while watching the rain, is medicine. The same tea, gulped while answering emails, is just caffeine. A walk in the forest, taken with attention, noticing the way light falls through leaves, the way the air smells different near water, is therapy. Studies from Japan on Shinrin-yoku, or forest bathing, show that just 2 hours among trees can lower cortisol by 16%, reduce blood pressure, and boost natural killer cells in your immune system for up to 30 days. 30 days from one walk. But the same distance walked on a treadmill while watching the news? Almost none of those benefits. Context is everything. Intention is everything. And nature, patient, quiet, unbelievably generous nature, is still offering what it has always offered. The pause, the reset, the ceremony of just being alive. You don't need to perform an ancient ritual to access this. You need to create your own. Something small, something real, something that interrupts the mechanical rhythm of modern life and says, I am here. I'm paying attention. This moment is not just another moment. Maybe it's 5 minutes in the morning with your hands in the soil of a houseplant. Maybe it's watching the sunset without your phone. Maybe it's sitting with a single cup of something warm and letting yourself feel whatever you feel without fixing it or fleeing from it. That is the ceremony. That is what the tobacco plant was always meant to support. Not the numbing of life, but the noticing of it. And the incredible, almost miraculous thing, nature doesn't hold grudges. It doesn't care that we've spent centuries ignoring it, exploiting it, pulling it apart for profit. The forest is still there. The rain still falls. The tobacco plant still grows wild in the mountains of the Andes, untouched by factories, still doing what it has done for millennia, growing toward the sun. It is waiting for us to remember, not to go backward, not to romanticize the past, but to carry forward the one principle that every indigenous culture understood and that every modern study confirms. We are not separate from nature. We never were. And every attempt to live as if we are ends in some form of addiction, some form of emptiness, some form of smoke without fire. The tobacco plant did not betray us. We betrayed it. We betrayed ourselves. We took a relationship and turned it into a transaction. We took a ceremony and turned it into a habit. We took a moment of sacred stillness and mass-produced it into a $4 pack of slow death. But every story of loss is also a story of possible return. You are alive right now, breathing right now, and outside your window, no matter where you are, even in the densest city, even on the grayest day, something is growing. Something green is pushing through concrete, reaching for the light, doing what nature has always done, offering itself, without condition, to anything willing to pay attention. The plants are not waiting for us to be perfect. They're not waiting for us to earn their medicine. They're simply there, present, patient, rooted in something we've been running from for centuries. Maybe the most radical thing you can do today, the most healing, the most rebellious, the most human thing, is to stop. Just stop. Go outside. Touch a leaf. Feel the air on your skin. And for one moment, one breath, let yourself belong to the earth again. That's the original ritual. That's where it all began. And it's still there, waiting for you to come home. If this story made you pause, if something in it felt true, you're in the right place. This channel, The Plant Mind, is about remembering what we've forgotten, the quiet intelligence of nature and its power to heal, teach, and transform the way we live. If that resonates with you, stay, subscribe, and let's walk this path together. I'll see you in the next one.